Hi everyone, it's Jess welcoming you back to another episode of AT Fridays. This week we'll be continuing our sensory spring special by looking into our next topic, tactile processing. So our product today is the Jettproof calming sensory socks, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But first, we're just going to have a chat about what tactile processing is and what it might look like. So tactile processing is how our bodies interpret information from our sense of touch, which can include light touch, deep pressure, vibration, and even temperature. So the central nervous system's ability to process tactile sensory input can be distorted in an individual with a sensory processing disorder and can subsequently cause the person a lot of distress and discomfort. Their brain may interpret the most subtle sensations as being extremely irritating or even painful, and may respond in an abnormally reactive way. We may see a physical response to this, such as grimacing or retreating from a stimulus. Similar to principles in O.T. Cameron's video on auditory processing, an individual may have tactile hypersensitivity or tactile hyposensitivity and may display sensory seeking or avoiding behaviours to compensate for their sensory needs. So for someone who is hypersensitive, they require more sensory input to feel what a typical individual may experience. So they're likely to not notice food on their face, they might exhibit a little reaction to pain, or can be aware of others touching them, and most likely a sensory seeker. So today's product of the Jettproof socks are designed more for people who are hypersensitive. So hypersensitivity is when someone is overly receptive to stimuli and may display behaviours of tactile defensiveness. So what they experience may feel like a more exaggerated, intense feeling to what a person typically feels, and are usually categorized as a sensory avoider. So someone who is hypersensitive can be overreactive with someone bumping into them, or what we often see in clients is an aversion to certain clothing materials and an over-awareness of tags and seams, particularly in socks, which is the perfect segue into today's review of the Jettproof sensory socks. So these are a lightweight, seam-free sock that also uses compression technology, which appeals to our proprioception sense, which is discussed in OT Sophie's video. So on review, you can see that it looks quite soft, and it is made of a bamboo and polyester elastane material, and doesn't have any obvious seams. So the sensory socks are knit from the bottom up, kind of like a cocoon. And the elastic part of the socks blend into the sock material quite well. I will note though that on the inside there is a texture change, but it still blends quite effectively. Whilst there is a seam, it is far less intrusive than regular socks. And wearing this, I found that it was easier to notice the slight compression of the elastic rather than the seam. There is also no heel on this sock, as you can see, so that just avoids any extra additional need for seams. So for best results, Jettproof suggests wearing these as much as possible so that the sensory system can become accustomed to the feel of the fabric. These can be worn when sleeping as well. Sizing is really important with these, as the sock needs to provide the appropriate amount of sensory compression to work effectively. A sizing chart and recommendations are provided on the Jettproof website, and we actually got sent a sizing chart as well with our sock order. It also had the sizes of other Jettproof clothing. So these socks can support the needs of clients with ASD, anxiety, ADHD, sensory processing disorder, and PTSD. They retail on the Jettproof website in packs of 3 for $19.95 at the moment, but I think it's $23 normally. and can come with some of Jettproof's other products, such as their singlets, which are also quite popular. So thank you all for listening to today's episode on tactile processing. We'll be continuing our sensory spring special next week with Darcy. So hope you've all enjoyed and have a lovely week. Bye everyone.